Hello friends, this is Barbara from Wigs and Fluff. Today I'm doing things a little bit different. I have a wig of the day on. This is the Trendsetter in that shaded vanilla that I like. And it's doing pretty good. I've worn it pretty much all day. Um, it still sticks up a little bit in the back. Still a bit of a problem for me, but overall it's doing just fine. I really like it. Um, there's a few problems, but mostly it's okay. Now, I have a story for you today. Um, I am a teacher and a storyteller. That's my background. When I graduated from college, I got married the same day, and we moved to upstate New York. And I lived there. We lived there for a couple of years. But while I was there, I started teaching school for the first time, public school. And I had an experience in public school, which I will never forget. And it involved a teacher, not a teacher, but the principal. The principal was a very rough man who his habit, he was, I don't know how to say this without sounding ugly, but he was not nice. He was prone to alcoholism. You could smell it on his breath a lot of times. He would take the children and throw them up against lockers if you sent them to his office. I quickly realized that that is something I shouldn't be doing, sending children to his office. Whether it was his plan or not, I don't know, but I stopped doing that. Um, they gave me a classroom with 28 average to below average students and 10 of the best sixth graders. So I had fifth graders that were average to below average and 10 sixth graders that were above average. Now, needless to say, that was a difficult class for a first year teacher. Why did they do that? Well, the first thing that happened was I declined to join their union. I don't care for unions, never have. My dad was an airline pilot, and I watched him be made miserable by unions. So I really was never very much in favor of unions. So instead, I just chose not to join, and they began a series of harassment against me, including a split classroom for a first year teacher. So I went to find the books. They were 30 years old. The books that they had given me were 30 years old. So I went to the principal and I said, what am I supposed to do with these old books? They're 30 years old, out of date. And how can I use those books? And he said, well, be creative. That was his answer. The classroom right next door to me was the head of the teachers union. And she had a little sixth grade class in there. And I mean, she had it made. It was an easy class. All of the best sixth graders, except for the 10 that they gave me. And she just didn't have any problems. But they continued to dump on me and give me a really, really hard time. In the course of the school year, there was a little boy from Mississippi that moved into the neighborhood. His dad had gotten transferred. And I remember sitting there wondering what I'm going to do with this little boy from Mississippi with this really Southern accent. So much so that the other boys in the class had decided they're just going to beat him up. And it got so bad, I had to start sending this little boy home early every day, 5 minutes early, so that he could get a head start. And his mother called me and told me she appreciated that. But the boys were just relentless, trying to race after him and track him down day after day after day. And I mentioned this to the principal, and he wanted me to send the boys to him, and I declined to do that. I know what he does. He would take them and throw them on the lockers again, bounce them off the lockers right in front of my classroom door. And they would come back in crying and carrying on. So this is how my first year of teaching went. It was a nightmare, really. I had to make up my own curriculum. I had to go through the books and use what I could and not use the rest. For a first grade teacher, for a first year teacher, that was pretty daunting. It was extremely difficult year. In the middle of the year, they sent me another new student. This one spoke no English. Italian boy from Italy, just came over from Italy, and he spoke absolutely not a word of English. I had no clue what to do with this child. There was no resources. There was nothing. And he was a sixth grader. Yet right next door was this head of the teachers union sitting proud and pretty with her nice little class. That was easy. And they stuck me, a first year teacher, with all of these difficulties. Well, as you can understand, by the time the first year ended, I was done. I was over public school. I foresaw what was happening in today's schools. I saw what was going on and down the road, what was happening in the deterioration of public schooling. They don't put children first. If you think that, you're wrong. They don't. They put their agenda first. So I wanted to tell you that in lieu of what happened a couple of days ago with the shooting of these 19 little kids and the adults. If you think your school is safe, you're wrong. Think again. Your school is not safe. That school that I was in was not safe. Not safe for the little boy from Mississippi, and really not safe for the little kid from Italy. It wasn't safe for any of the students in my classroom because of the principal. And I began to understand what was going on in public schools and why public schools were starting to fail. If you think that your kids are safe, please think again. I have been there and done that, and I know for certain your kids are not safe. Even if you have a resource officer, your kids are not safe. There are child P going on in every single public school with teachers. Sad to say, but it's true. There are teachers texting children inappropriate messages. Happens all the time, and they tell them not to tell their parents. They lead children into immorality in sex education classes and tell the kids not to tell their parents. This is what's going on in public school. So what I have always said to people who ask me, get your child out of public school. And this is the purpose of this video, to explain to you that your child is not safe in your school. If you think that you have a safe school, you're wrong. You're wrong. Every single school has more than one door. I can guarantee you that, especially elementary schools. They always have a door connected to the gym, for instance, or the cafeteria, for instance, where the kids can go outside for a little recess. Kindergartners and first and second graders especially, they can't sit all day. They need to blow off some steam and run around a little bit. So to say that there was only one way in and one way out, not true. Just not true. There were multiple windows around the school. They could have gained access. Your children are not safe in public schools. I know this from experience. Whether it's from someone coming into the school or whether it's from within, in the teachers and the principals. Many times, children are arrested nowadays in public schools. They take them to jail, fingerprint them, and photograph them without their parents' permission. This happens. And a lot of times it's because they're being bullied by a teacher. That happens more often than what you realize. Teachers can be bullies. They can be mean to these kids, really mean. Teaching today is hard. It's harder than it's ever been. If you think your kids are safe in public schools, think again. Take your kids out of public school. There are many opportunities these days. It doesn't have to be a choice between public school and some expensive private school. There are many other choices. Homeschool is a perfect choice. You could start working from home and online and take care of your children at home and homeschool them. That's one thing. Another one is an online education. Everything you need to teach your children is already online. It's easy. From chemistry to math, the whole thing is already online for you. People can go online and access this education for their child. Right now, if you homeschool your child, by law, universities have to accept that high school graduation that you provide for yourself as the parent. When you provide, what you do is you fill out a regular little certificate, and that has to be accepted by every college and university and technical school in the country. That's the law today. So it's perfectly fine to homeschool your own children. Perfectly fine. They will not come out the loser. They'll come out the winner because they're being educated at home. They're being protected from immorality that's being taught in schools today. They're being protected from bullies, both teachers and students who attack your student. You will not know the half of what your child goes through because they probably won't tell you. Take your child out of public school. Look into homeschooling. Look into hybrid schools. There are some schools where it's 3 days in a private school and 2 days at home. Look into that. There are many ways that you can educate your child and without them having to be in public school. You don't want your child in today's public schools. You just don't. There's plenty of opportunities for socialization. There are plenty of homeschool groups that would welcome your child. And they have everything from proms to basketball games to football games and more for homeschool kids these days. Lots of opportunities, lots of social situations that are much, much safer and better organized. So I hope you'll understand, and I hope you will take what I have to say today in the right way, with love. And I pray that you would think about these things. Really give it some thought. You can work from home, and you can make it work. There isn't any amount of money that's worth the life of your child. I hope you listen, and I hope that I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.